Dobry wieczór, MaNa.
Dobry wieczór.
Okay, we're here with MaNa. We're at Dreamhack Winter. We're going to kind of do a career interview of him here, ask some interesting things about the past, see about his recent successes. And so I want to go right back to the beginning of Starcraft 2, basically. When I look at your results, you weren't really that well known as a foreigner, and the first big breakout event was actually this tournament here, but 2 years ago, Dreamhack Winter. And you got to the final of this tournament, but this was when it was kind of like a smaller event, like there weren't so many Koreans or there weren't so many big players. What did you think of that particular tournament? Like, what was the significance of this tournament for you, coming second there?
It was definitely the most important tournament of my life back then. It was kind of the first tournament abroad from Poland, because I was playing in Czech Republic tournament, but this was like more far away, Dreamhack it is. So that meant quite a lot for me to go to this event, and I really wanted to go to Dreamhack even back in the Starcraft Good War times. So I actually been there, and I came to the finals, luckily, I don't know, and well, it was very good events, and Dreamhack keep on doing the same good job all over again.
The guy you lost to in the final was Naama, and nowadays he's not really such a big name player. He hasn't really had any results for a while. What was he good at back then, and what happened in the final? Because, like, as I remember, like, you were down 2-0, but then you brought it all the way back. But then the fifth one he got you. So, like, what do you think was the deciding factor, and what do you think about him as a player at the time, though?
I think the maps were completely horrible, if I can see from now point of view, and he was good back then, because back then the metagame was not kind of figured out what is the best versus Terran, or what is the best as a Protoss versus Terran, and well, back then there was a lot of builds that Terran could use, and Protoss just didn't know how to react. I think he was just better at executing the builds, and I was bad at countering it, and I think that was the reason I lost.
Were you like, I mean, a lot of people when they make their first final, they're just kind of like, they're happy just to be in the final, they get nervous, like all this stuff. Was this an issue? Was it just a standard game and he beat you as a result of that? What do you think the factors were?
It was the first final for me, so I was really happy already, because I have beaten quite a few good players back then. So even if I would have lost, and I lost in the finals, I was happy. If I won, of course, it would have been way better, but I didn't mind losing to the finals, especially because Naama was my teammate back then.
After that, you were kind of, it wasn't any big events for a while, it was like just the smaller ones. It was like the home story when it was like a really small event back then. But then the next big event for you was the Assembly Summer, I think it was. Was this the one where you lost to DIMAGA?
Yes.
Okay, so you made it to another big final. This is the one though where you were up 2 maps, and then somehow he came back to reverse sweep you. So, like, what was the sequence? Were you in a downturn before that event? Was that the revival? What happened, and then what happened in the final as well?
I think DIMAGA figured out my playstyle back then. I think I used Stargate play 5 games in a row, so DIMAGA kind of known how to react. And also the maps were an issue back then as well. Crevasse was the last map, and it was a horrible map for me. I think I never played a PvZ back then on Crevasse. So I guess, yeah, that was why I lost to DIMAGA. He just figured out my builder, and he knew how to counter it in the next games.
I'll skip ahead for a second, because the interesting thing about you losing to DIMAGA there was that if we ignore ESWC for a minute, you'd been in all these finals, and the final where you finally won was against DIMAGA again. This was like the repeat. Was it the next year? Yeah, it was Dreamhack Summer this year, actually, yeah. Well, did it have any special significance that you actually beat him in the final this time?
I just wanted to have a revenge, of course, because it was the final. Last time I lost to him in Assembly Summer, as I said. I was kind of hoping that I would win versus DIMAGA, because I had a really good day back then, and I felt like no one can actually stop me from the players in Dreamhack Summer. So I prepared really well for DIMAGA playstyle. I watched his replays, and I watched the VODs from the Dreamhack games, and I just kind of countered his builds, and that's why I won.
You can see with some players, like, they can get to semi-finals or they can get to finals, but there's always something, or they always get edged, or there's some hurdle they haven't gotten over. Was there anything actually changed for you at that specific tournament, or in that time period, that allowed you to win it? Or could you have won these past ones as well and it was just not your day? What did you think the reasoning was why you were finally able to win this event?
I think I had a lot of confidence after I won third game versus Hero and first game versus Stephano. I gained a lot of confidence in my play. I didn't do any small or big mistake in my games. So everything was going smoothly for me, and I think that was the breakout for me, because usually I do a lot of small mistakes, kind of supply blocks or micro mistakes, and in Dreamhack Summer I just played very well, I think, and that helped me to win the tournament. And the build that I used versus Zergs, I was immortal all-in, was not figured out by Zergs back then, so that also helped me a lot to win the tournament.
Another big moment, if we just skip back a little bit, was obviously ESWC 2011, this one. The weird thing about that tournament was, like, you almost went out in the group stage. You managed to lose to Biggs, where, I mean, was he actually in Mouse at the time?
No,
he wasn't. Okay. So at the time, that was like a big upset, and then you had to go through this huge tiebreaker just to get out the groups, but then you made it all the way to the final. What did you think of that tournament?
I don't remember actually what happened. Why did I go to the tiebreaker? I think I was just playing bad, or my opponents were playing really smart that they won versus me. But after tiebreak, I promised myself that I will not lose in a stupid way. But then I see the brackets and I got MC, I think, in the first round, and I was like, shit, I don't think I will be able to do that. But luckily, I think I got build order wins versus MC, and then I played versus Soke. And Grabby, I think all of them were 2-0. And in the finals versus Stephano, well, he was already a great player back then, and I couldn't win even a single game versus Stephano in practice games, so he won 3-1 quite easily, I would say. And yeah, I finished another second place.
I mean, I remember people saying back then around the ESWC final that you two had been like practice partners before, or you'd played online a bit. Did he like know your game well? Did you know his game well? Like going into it, did you think he was a favorite to beat you?
Yeah, definitely. We were practicing a lot together, and he knew my playstyle like all about it, and I knew about his playstyle as well. Even in practice games, I couldn't win even a single game, and even if I won, it was because of his mistakes. So he just outplayed me in practice and in tournaments. So that's why he won.
Because the interesting thing about the fact that Stephano beat you in the ESWC final is a bit like with the DIMAGA storyline. When you finally won, that was when you came and won this tournament. You then have since then beaten Stephano in 2 big semi-finals. You beat him in this DreamHack and then the CSWC. What changed when you two play each other that you're winning now?
He didn't know my playstyle at all. I think we didn't practice a lot for a couple of months already, I think from Dreamhack Summer already, and he didn't know what to expect from me. He didn't know my tactics, he didn't know my build orders, and he didn't know how would I react to his playstyle. He didn't change his playstyle at all for the time being, and I knew what he's going to do, and I think that was the main factor why I won.
There's some people would say that Stephano's either the best foreign ZVP player or maybe even the best ZVP player in the world. So many Protoss players he can crush. Like, I mean, I think there was an IPL event where he just owned them all. Maybe it was NASL, I can't remember which one.
I think in NASL.
Yeah. Why is it that you're now beating him consistently? Is there anything about your PvZ that's changed, do you think?
I think he just like kind of how do you say that? Like he doesn't think I'm good enough, so underestimate me, and I think that's why I win. And he just doesn't know what to expect from me, and that's why I won. I don't think I will be able to beat him for the third time if I would meet him now.
I mean, what's quite interesting as well is that you're famous for your PvT, obviously. Like we were mentioning with the SWC, you had a really strong PvP run there. But your PvZ in the early days could be quite terrible at times. I mean, we were saying you lost to Biggs at ESWC. Yeah. You also lost to him in, what was the final where you lost to him? Gamers Assembly. Yeah. I mean, again, Biggs is not a very famous player, even though he's in Moss Sports. Did something click in your mind, or did you think about PvZ in a different way that you were able to now be beating these top players, whereas before you would lose to people like Osho, Biggs, these not very big name Zergs even? I
think it's easier to play versus the better Zergs, like the best Zergs, than versus the less known Zergs, because you know the playstyle of the bigger names, you know what to expect from them, you know how they react, you know what they're bad at, what they're good at, so what to avoid to do, and that made me win versus Stephano, and that's why I lost to Biggs, because I didn't know his playstyle that completely, and he saw a lot of my games versus Zergs already, so that's why he knew what to do against me, and that's why he won.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. In that case, maybe we can talk about that for a little bit, because do you think that's why in StarCraft there's so much variance, like so many upsets with sometimes like early on in tournaments? Because I know in Counter-Strike people, or Quake, people would sometimes say it's actually easier to play against a really, really good player because they're going to play like the standard or the smart play, whereas the bad player might do something that's stupid, but you wouldn't even think he's going to do it, so that might be the one thing you're open to. Is this the case in StarCraft 2?
Yeah, I really think it is the case, especially in the let's say the top level. There's always one game that you can surprise your opponent, and I think it's really important to prepare a counter build to your opponent. But the thing is that your opponent will know that you want to prepare the counter build, so he will try to counter the counter, and so on and so on. So it's hard to think what to do. But I think it's the case in StarCraft 2 as well, where the bad players are harder to beat than the good players, because they will not play that smart mode, let's say, and it's harder to predict what they are going to do.
Where do you think, like, as we were saying before, when you won Assembly Winter, that was like the moment you like first actually won a tournament. You got all to the finals, but then you were always stuck at that level, and then finally you won Assembly Summer. You got a big event out of the way. Now you won Dreamhack as well. Where do you see yourself like stacking up in the world? Because if someone's always coming second, even if they've got really high placings, people will tend to favor the guy who actually wins a tournament, even if he does worse overall. So where do you see yourself like ranked in the world, just in your own mind? Like, who's around your level, do you think?
It's hard to say. I think there's a lot of players that can still beat me, and I can still compete with the best players. It's hard to say where am I in the rank. I think it's too hard to say. I would like to just keep on playing tournaments, and if I can keep on like winning tournaments, or keep on placed on second or top 3 tournaments, then I can consider myself as one of the best foreigners. And I think I have done that already, and I can consider myself as a top foreigner already behind Stephano or Nerchio, the Zerg players. I think, yeah, they are way better than me so far. I have a lot of troubles against them. Actually, I won versus Stephano twice, but I still consider him as a better player than me. I couldn't win versus Nerchio for a long time. He just is better versus me, and I don't think there's many other players who I can consider like unbeatable for me. So I would say top 3 foreigner for me, but it's not a like direct rank for me.
If we look at other Protoss foreigners, a lot of the reason it seems like why some of the older ones who were the top ones back a couple of years back haven't done so well is because their speciality was always PvT, or maybe some of them were good in PvP. But obviously in this era, it seems like you have to be good in PvZ or you can't really manage. So we see like every time NaNiwa's come to a foreign tournament in the last few months, he always gets drawn against the Zerg, and that's pretty much the end. Huck's pretty much disappeared because he's another guy who's a PvT guy. What's your take on like the foreigners in terms of playing PvZ? Because it seems like there aren't very many foreign Protosses who are good in PvZ.
I think the biggest problem for PvZ and foreigners are the builder executions. The Koreans execute their builds completely flawlessly, and the Europeans, and I do it as myself, like, oh, maybe let's do this, maybe let's do this, maybe this, maybe some of this, and if we don't execute our builds perfectly, there's no timing window which we can hit versus Zergs. So I think that's the biggest problem for us, and we need to study our opponents more, I think, and then prepare the counter build and execute it flawlessly, because that's the biggest problem for us.
Obviously, because of the Zergs doing so well and the Infestor and all this, there's been a million debates back and forwards, is imbalanced, all this. But the interesting thing at the moment is, because we just had this World Championship where Protoss actually kind of dominated, there's like almost like both sides of the matchup are actually complaining. So the Zergs all complain, oh, the Immortal all in, it's too strong. And yet the Protoss says, well, if we don't get that part done, then when it gets late game, it's like impossible to win. From your perspective, since you're actually doing quite well versus some Zergs, do you think it's that one side is like heavily favored? How do you see it?
I mean, I really hate to complain about imbalance, because I'm not playing perfectly, so I don't know what I can do better, or I'm not the right person to complain about imbalance. But I feel like the Zerg Infestors especially it's just a too strong unit that it changed the game completely. Whenever the Infestor is in the game, the game changes, and it's not about only ZVP but ZVT as well. The Infestor can kill a whole army and just run away, and you trade energy for units, which is not the thing you want to do as an opponent, of course. I think the Immortal is not as hard as people think it is hard to defend. I think it also depends on player skill of the placement of the force fields. myself, I don't think I have best force field, so I don't think I'm really good at immortal or lining now. And I think it's about the flanking maneuvers and forcing your opponent, that is Protoss, to make force field preemptively. So they have not enough energy for the main engagement. And also you can do like TLO actually did versus me. I think it was GD Invitational, where they did Nidus Swarm and then counterattack with the units and then move back if that's possible. I think the late game CVP is completely broken. The Broodlord Infestor composition with Corruptors is impossible to deal with without Mothership. And if you have Mothership, then there's always the threat that Zerg can Neuro parasite the Mothership. And well, the best Zerg unit is Mothership as well. So it's just I can even say I hated that PvZ late game is all about one unit that is Mothership.
Just still only talking about PvZ in terms of balancing that one matchup, is it not a problem that basically both sides have the same argument, which is like the Zergs will say, well, if you nerf Infestor, then we're going to lose to all we have no chance whatsoever, we're just going to get owned by them because that's our main unit. And at the same time, for the Protoss, if they get nerfed early game, then what are they going to do in the whole match versus EVP? So do you have any ideas of your own as to how they could balance it? Like what change do you think could be made that would make it even better for either?
I was trying to think about it with my brother, and we didn't come up with the best solution. I think it's too hard. I mean, the Infestor itself is too hard to change. People got used to the abilities it has, and I can't imagine a thing that could like completely fix it. Maybe Blizzard has something in mind. They try to make the fungal hit no psionic units only. I'm not sure if that's the best case. It might be too big of a buff for Protoss, but on the other hand, they can still catch the Blink Stalkers or Terran army with one fungal, then keep on fungaling all over again. I don't know what could have been done. I think the Infestor itself is just wrongly designed as for now, and I have no idea what they can do to fix it.
When it comes to balancing, there's usually like two schools of thinking. Either you nerf the thing that you think's imbalanced, or you try and give a buff to someone else to kind of even it out. Just from the way you play the game, which do you think is the better school of thought to go with, you think?
Nerf Infestor, definitely. Protoss doesn't need a buff, because Infestor is good at ZVT and ZVP, and even main unit in ZVZ, so it just has to be changed, because it's the main unit that Zerg goes to, and whenever there are Infestor, there's no unit that doesn't like, I mean, there's no unit which counter Infestors. Even if there's like feedback or EMP, it doesn't matter, because Zerg usually has like 15 or even 30 Infestors. There's always not enough Infestors in the game, you can always make more of them, so I think that's wrong. It shouldn't be like this.
The main thing people obviously complain about with the Infestor is fungal. How would you compare fungal to the other spells in the game from the other races? Like, is it that much easier and that much more effective? Is it imbalanced in that sense?
Yeah, I think fungal is way too strong because if you hit one good storm, then alright, you hit one good storm, good job. If you hit one EMP, good job. But if you hit one fungal, then there can be a following fungal because it stops the units. So there's another fungal and another. So you can kill a whole army with just using one fungal, and you can't run out of it. So I think that's the biggest problem for fungal now.
Since, like we've said, your speciality always was said to be PvT, this was your best matchup, you actually very rarely even get to play it in tournaments now, it seems. Has this been an issue for you? Have you been able to mentally say, okay, well, I'm just going to have to practice versus Protoss and Zergs, or do you want to play more PvT? Like, what's the issue for you? Because it seems like you're very rarely going to run into them anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of sad for me that I can't play more PvTs. I really enjoyed playing this matchup. I think it's really nicely balanced. It's all about the micro and positioning in the late game. I really enjoy playing it, and well, it's sad for me that I can't play that much of it. Is it good? I don't know. Is it bad? I don't know either. I think it's good that I don't have to play that many PvTs because I have to prepare for other matchups more. So I can improve more because if I feel confident in PvT and if I could keep on playing PvT all over and over again in tournaments, then I would be really bad at PvZ or PvP in tournaments. But now that I play more PvZs and PvP, then I can be good at every matchup. So I think that's alright for me that I don't play that many PvTs.
Because there's not that many foreign turns, and there hasn't even been for like maybe a year back, there haven't actually been that many times when you've got to play like a really top level Terran in a big series. So I was thinking of some people, and I came up with Taja you played Puma a few times. These people are known for their good TVP. What are these guys like when you play them in comparison to other people? Like, what are they good at? What's difficult? What do you do against them?
The difference between Korean Terrans and European Terrans is that they deny scouting completely. So you don't know what you have to prepare for. And as I said before, they execute their builds flawlessly. So there's no mistakes or holes in their build orders. Of course, they take some risks, but usually their risks are right, I would say. They micro is really nice versus storms. They split all army, so they don't go like clumped up. They send always one marine in the front just to see if there's one high templar hiding or something like this. They drop quite a lot only if they know they can. And they are just good at micro. I think micro Terran is the most micro-intensive race, and that's why Koreans are the best at it, because they just play so many games that they know how to micro and what to micro against. They know what units they should snipe. That is sentries, for example, or EMP, the high Templar sniper, high Templars, or good positioning with the Vikings. So that's why they're better than the foreign Terrans.
In the early game of Starcraft 2, people always used to say Terran was the one that was the most favoured, or they were doing the best. Then there was like a very brief period in 2011 where people said, oh, Protoss is doing the best. That wasn't very long, admittedly. And now, now we've got the period where everyone says the era of the Zergs. So if you look at it like that, it would seem like at one point in time, the game was always a little bit imbalanced or skewed to one side or the other. Is there a point in time that you could pick and go, that was the best balanced period in StarCraft 2? Can you think of a period?
I don't know. I think now it's a really hard time, as I said, because of the infestors. I think a couple of months ago, where Zergs still didn't know how to use infestors properly, I think that was the most balanced time. But I'm not quite sure about it. I was never whining about the imbalance, but now it's really hard time for me and for all other Protosses and Terrans as well because of the infestors. Yeah, I think that was the most balanced time then.
In Korea, the Terrans who are really, really good, they're still able to win versus everyone, pretty much, especially obviously if it's like an MVP type guy. From just observing, do you watch GSL much?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so from what you've observed, what do you think that's different about Korean Terrans in terms of like why have we got no one almost in North America, not very few people in Europe who can actually play Terran at a high level? I mean, there must be people who have the APM or they have the multitask, they have one or two of these things, so what's the problem, do you think?
I think lack of practice or lack of putting enough effort to it. As I said in the previous question, they just execute the build, so I think it's just lack of practice. They need to practice more, and also I think it's an issue that they don't have enough practice partners. So they usually in Europe or North America, all we can do is to play ladder or custom games. But there are so many tournaments, and now that whenever you practice with someone, you will usually or eventually meet him in the tournament, like I did versus Stephano, and he just owned me. So I think that's the issue for European or for overall foreign Terrans.
So in terms of the Zergs in Korea, like, even though in the West it's easy to say, oh, it's the era of the Zergs, they're always placing so highly in the tournaments. In Korea, the Zergs, aside from like a couple of wins, like Life winning GSL, it's not like they're totally dominating everything. The Terrans still get pretty far. You still have seasons where Protoss get quite a few out. What do you think Koreans do differently against Zerg? Or what did the Korean Zergs not do that the Westerners do? What do you think it is?
I think the problem is that the GSL format is like you know your opponent in advance, so you can prepare for your opponent and you can surprise your opponent with a builds for a single best of 3 or best of 5 if it's that far. So that's why the Zergs are not dominating that much. If you see a tournament which is like 3-day event, like MLG or Dreamhack, you will always see Zergs winning more because it's just not possible to surprise that many opponents at 1 day or 2 days. So that's why at MLG we had ZVZ finals live versus Linak.
So this is a good time to talk about your experience in Korea then, kind of leads into that. When you were first going over there, I mean, you must have seen like almost every foreigner who goes over there, they come over thinking like, well, I do good at foreign tournaments, I'm gonna have a chance here, but they always get trashed immediately, pretty much, and it takes a few months to get used to it. Did you kind of think in the back of your mind like, I'll be different, I might do well at this? I
wanted to think like this, but I knew the Koreans were so much better. I didn't try to expect that much from me, but like by the time I really wanted to go into the Code S to break up and down matches, but I practiced a lot to up and down matches, and I really wanted to go to Code S, and that's I think. Whenever I saw GSL, I really wanted to go to Korea to practice and participate in this tournament. So I had the chance, so I just didn't want to waste it. And I I think I did well to go to Code S, but eventually I dropped out of Code S and then Code A, so that was kind of bad for me. But I experienced it a lot in Korea in terms of practice. I know how to practice now. I know how to execute the builds, what is best. I think my time in Korea was really nice, and I really enjoyed the time in there.
Like I was saying, it does seem like even the foreigners who end up doing well in GSL, it takes like maybe 4 or 5 months at least of trying it every season to get in. Is this something that you have in your mind, like you're going to go back at some point and try and do like a sustained period, or have you just had this adventure once, or what do you think? What do you have in mind for Korea?
No plans at all. So far, definitely no Korea for 2012. Maybe in 2013, but as I said, just nothing planned yet. I don't know.
Is it something just in terms of a goal? Like, is it important to you to, like, everyone usually says GSL is the best tournament. Like, this is the one where if you win it, you can say you're like the world champion, or you could prove it this. Is it important to you as a player to prove yourself as one of the best players in this sense, or do you want to be like a Stephano guy and go, I don't care, I'll just play in the foreign tournaments, I'll win all the money there? What's your goal for StarCraft 2? Yeah,
I wanted to prove myself in GSL. That's why I went there. I really wanted to play in the booth of GSL, play in the GSL studio. I proved myself that I'm not self-motivated that much. I need someone who can keep on motivating me and keep me positive minded if I lose some games. So that's what I learned by going to Korea. And I don't want to be the guy like Stephano who's like, freaking GSL, whatever, I'm going to win some foreign tournaments. I wanted to play in GSL. I wanted to prove myself.
Since you know Stephano, you've played him so many times, and you knew him before he became an EG guy, etc. Actually, I want to get your take on what we were just talking about there. Because he's won so many foreign tournaments, but he's never played in like proper GSL. He played in the Blizzard Cup, but that was it. Because he's never gone there and lost or won, he's never really had to like prove that he was the best player in the world, even if people said it. And obviously, if he went there and he lost, then people go, oh, maybe he isn't. If he went there, would the same thing happen to him? Would he probably get knocked out of Code S, or would he actually be able to make it that far? What's your sense for it?
That's a hard question. I mean, I don't know his mind. I don't know what he's thinking. I think he's a really strong player. I think he could do very well in Code S. Definitely, he's a player who could go to round of 8 or even round of 4 in a good day. I think if he could put a lot of effort into it, if he would really want to play in GSL, he could be definitely even a GSL champion, because he's just so smart and just a great player to watch for.
What you said before actually about how when you're in Korea, it's all about like preparing for a specific opponent, and I'm going to scout him out, I'm going to have things in mind that I want to do, as opposed to in the West, sometimes you don't know your opponent until like half an hour before you play them. And so it does seem like if we look at some of the players who have results in the West but not in Korea, like even some of the players like Puma has done really well in the West, but when he was in GSL he's never really done anything. So it does seem like the two styles of tournament favour a different type of player. So can you suggest maybe some foreigners who you think would be good at that like series planning aspect if they were to go to Korea? Is there someone who comes to mind when I say that?
I think Torzen would be really good. He was already in Korea, but I think I still consider him as one of the best Terrans here. Not really known yet, but Harstem. I think he prepares quite a lot for opponents, and whenever I talk to him, he knows exactly what his game plan is, and he sticks to the game plan. I can't think about anyone else now. Well, these two guys just goes to my mind now.
Okay. One person we have to talk to about you in an interview with you is obviously Nerchio, because you're both Polish, you're both always fighting at these Polish lands. You've played each other a million times, and the strange thing is you've beaten Stephano a few times now, you've shown you've got good PvZ, yet Nerchio's always complaining that he's really bad in ZVP, and yet somehow he's always beating you. So what's the reason for this weird way it works out like that, from your perspective?
I think it's some kind of mind games that, I'm so bad at ZVP. So people, if they lose to him, they're like, I lost to a guy who has bad ZVP, what do I do now? I think that's the case. I don't think there's any other reason.
So, is it strange that you can be maybe... Most people would probably say you're one of the top 5 Europeans, and yet they might also say you're the second best player in Poland. Like, is Poland actually really strong right now?
I think there's like huge difference between Nerchio, me, and the third guy. We are like 2 best players. We can compete at the top level, and there's no third guy who can compete in the big tournaments. I would think of Tefel maybe. He's on IEM Singapore now, doing quite well. I think last time I watched results, he was 2-1 in the group. Paranoid is doing really well. Well, obviously 3 Zergs besides me. And well, we don't have many Terrans. There's my brother, Funkai, he's doing well, but he doesn't have any results so far. So I think Poland is strong, definitely we have a strong lineup, but there's a huge difference between Nerchio, me, and the third guy.
Are you and Nerchio actually friendly?
No.
You're like rivals?
Well, I don't know, I like, not rival, I just don't, yeah, I'm gonna say it, I just don't like him, that's it. I don't like his personality, and I think he doesn't like me either. I think it's some kind of rivalry because of it, and that's it, yeah.
Does it come from having played each other or the games, or was it just you automatically felt this way, do you think?
I think yes, this, and also that he doesn't put a lot of effort into gaming, and that just makes me sad that I put so much into game, into practice, and he's like, oh, whatever, I just came here to this tournament to visit, and you know, stuff like this. It just makes me angry inside that the guy that doesn't put that much effort keeps on winning versus me, and I think that's why I just don't like him.
Actually, this is like a small point, but it's something I remembered. I'm trying to think which tournament it was. There was a tournament where you lost to Bly, and Stephano made a tweet, and it said something like, "You played really well. That was disgusting." Yeah, like the way.
This was Dreamhack Bucharest.
Ah, okay. And he was sort of implying that, like, well, I mean, Stephano himself even says, "Yeah, Zergs the most favoured in that matchup." What did you think of this comment, and what did he have a point?
I mean, it was just a friendly note. I don't know what he wanted to do. It was nice for him. I don't know.
Okay. Actually, that's something else then. This is strange. You've also now lost to Bly a couple of times in a row. Mm-hmm. And most people would probably say, like, Bly's like a level below Nerchio, Stephano, those guys, because he hasn't had the results to prove it. Is there something weird? A lot of people tell me that he plays like a weird style of Zerg's choice. What do you think's strange when you face him? He
plays completely not standard. He plays smart, but his builds has a lot of holes, so I think it's easy to counter him. But the thing is, he tries to counter you as well, so it's kind of a run cat and mice. His weird style comes from denying the scouting of Protoss, and we don't know what to expect. And he scouts really well the base of Protoss, so he tries to counter really well. I think whenever you play longer versus Bly, the game goes easier for you when you're a better player. I think more times you play versus Bly, it's better for you.
It seems like of all the races, the Protosses can have such wildly different styles of how they choose to play. So if I name a couple of Korean Protosses, can you tell me like what comes to mind when you think of that player or what he's good at from what you've seen?
Okay, I'll try to.
Okay, so let's start off and say, well, let's say Rain.
Rain?
Yeah.
Very good at executing builds. He plays really standard, but executing builds completely right, and he understands the game.
Did it shock you that he's able to come into Starcraft 2 and so quickly get to the top?
Yeah, I was really surprised, and I'm such a fan of him. Actually, now I watched his games. I'm really impressed by his play, and I'm really looking forward to the future with his games.
Do you think that he's just a one-off, like he was really suited to Starcraft 2, or are there other KeSPA Protosses that we don't know about who are going to go nuts? What do you think? What's the sense of it?
I don't know. I think Rain is just really talented to this game. He has a great coach. I think Boxer is a coach of SKT1, so that helps quite a lot. I'm not sure if there are any other Protosses, but for now, Rain is definitely the best KeSPA player.
Okay, I mean, another obvious one to pick would be Parting, since he just won this huge tournament. People are going to say, I mean, he was famous before for his PVT, but now he's famous for doing the immortal all-in every single time, even if he tells you. Yeah. What do you think of him?
Good at surprising your opponent, good at executing builds as well. Not the best decision making sometimes. He makes quite some mistakes. Good at reading opponent.
A strange one would be Squirtle, because on one hand, he had some really great GSL results, and yet he's now come to a couple of other tournaments and played foreigners and had weird results, like losing to Monchi. He lost to ESWC a lot earlier than people thought. So, what do you think of this guy?
Cool builds, very nice timings of the builds, but usually the timings are late. So the player who plays really greedy will be ahead versus him, because I don't think he does a lot of timing attacks where like before 10 minutes mark. So greedy people will have an advantage. So that's why he lost to sort of, I guess, at ESWC.
Another guy who's kind of just risen really quickly, Creator. Like maybe 9 months ago, no one really cared about this guy, and now he's won a couple of tournaments. He's placed really highly. What's his speciality, do you think?
Really smart play. Very good at late games. I think he rarely loses late games. Very predictable. That's his disadvantage. He usually plays all the time the same. Good at micro, good at decision making. Yeah, I think predictability is just his disadvantage.
A good one would probably be Hero to mention, because since he's on Team Liquid, he's always going to be very hyped and people are big fans of his. And yet he also seems to be like quite inconsistent. Like one day everyone's like, oh, he's going to win the tournament, and then the next day he can lose in the round of 8 or something. What do you think of him?
A very funky play, very aggressive, a lot of risks, good micro, extremely good harassment. Quite few, I would say, decision making. Sometimes just not as I would do. His disadvantages, I think, he just takes too many risks, and they don't pay off. That's why he loses.
Okay, one other Protoss I have in mind, not a Korean this time, would be Huck, because with a lot of other players, a bit like what I was saying about Stephano, because they haven't been to Korea, people can still dream in their minds like, oh, maybe they'd get super even better than they are now if they went there. But actually, Huck's pretty much, I mean, it's hard to see how he could have any untapped potential since he just lived in Korea forever, pretty much. Why is he just dropped off the map completely as a foreigner, do you think?
It's hard to say, but I think he's not good at late game. He's good at pushing with. I think every game I see of him is like 9 gate, 8 gate push, 7 gate, 6 gate. I don't know, Blink Stalker all and something like this. I think he's not good at late game, and whenever people play versus Huck, they know this, the 8 gate is incoming, so they just play defensively and then they win late game.
One of the biggest complaints from Protosses from day one in StarCraft 2 is they always go, oh, PvP is just a coin flip. But there still are some people who can be very, very good at PvP, and you can almost still rely on them to win it. Is it really as random as people used to say before? How's it changed, or is it the same?
It's definitely not the same. I think PvP is a lot about skill now, about reading your opponent, about knowing your opponent's builds before. It was a coin flip before because we didn't know how to read the opponents. Now once we've got a lot of builds, I think there's a lot of small things like probes in the gas that can tell you about the build already. So the beginning scouting is very important, but a lot of Protosses actually don't scout at all, just scout for the proxies. They stick to the plan, and that's what changed, because nowadays 4-gate is not really popular. It's still a build that can be used, but usually it's very easy countered nowadays.
Who comes to mind when you think of people that you think are really good at PvP? Who comes to your mind? Do you consider yourself up there?
No, not really. I'm coming to this point, but I don't think I'm there yet. Elfie definitely. He takes so many risks. There's not too many players who I can think of actually. Even Koreans. I don't know. Rain will be really good at PvP in late game, and Creator as well. That's 3 players that come up to mind.
Okay, so one of the things I want to close out on is kind of where you see your career. If you look to it backwards now and you see where you started and where you are now, there was a time when, like I say, people thought of MaNa and they thought like, he's a good player. If he has a hot streak, maybe he'll get to a semi-final or a final, but they didn't think of you as like winning the whole tournament, the guy with the trophy. But now you're actually like the 2nd highest foreigner on the list of prize money ever. Yeah. So you're ahead of all these guys who were much more famous before. You've got 85,000 in total winnings, so you're doing very well for a foreigner. Like, how much further can you go? Where do you see yourself like in the next year or so? What's next for MaNa in this sense?
I will definitely keep on improving as a player and also as a person. I can still be the one who people will think, oh, he's going to win a tournament. I'm not done yet, definitely. I can see a lot of mistakes in my play, a lot of bad decision making, just a lot of holes, and I think that's really important for a player to see his own mistakes, not point out others' mistakes. So I can improve way more, and I just need more time.
Do you think you're a guy who has like the winning mindset nailed down? Is it something you're still battling with? Like, how has it developed?
I think the most important thing for me at tournaments is to be happy of my games. I don't have to win a tournament to be happy. If I played good, I did my best, but I lost. The guy was better, alright, I lost, it's fine. I can keep on practicing and maybe next time I'll do better. So that's the most important thing for me.
Oh, one person I should actually throw in, just back to the Protoss discussion, I should probably throw in NaNiwa since he was there in Korea as well, but people say if he ever runs into a Zerg, that's when he's kind of done, because his runs always manage to skip them. What's NaNiwa's problem? What's his strengths? What do you think of the guy?
I think he's pretty much good at almost everything. He has kind of good build. I don't think he's executing them perfectly, but as I was talking to him in Korea, he knew what to do. I think his disadvantage is he's not patient at all. He wants to end the game right here, right now, and sometimes he just loses because of that.
Is he unique amongst foreigners in the sense that he actually seems like a guy who's willing to just stay in Korea forever and practice a million hours and stuff, which is what people always complain about? Like, they go there at first, like, yeah, I'm going to go. And then when they get there, they're like, nah, I'd rather actually go back to the West and just play every now and then. Are there other people like this, or is he unique in this sense? What do you think?
I think he's really motivated. He has nothing else to do. He's full-time pro gamer. He's in Korea, so I don't think he has a reason to go back. He's been in Korea for more than a year now, I think. So I don't see a reason why he should come back. If he is motivated enough to keep on playing in Korea, keep on practicing, then I recommend him to do it, because whenever you keep on practicing, you didn't lose yet.
Okay, I have a question now about Poland. I'm not super knowledgeable, but I know some of the Polish Counter-Strike pros, and they tell me that it's a bit like Russia and Ukraine in the sense that the actual average standard of living, like the cost and the salaries are much lower, and so as a result, if you're even just an okay pro, then you're doing actually quite well. Like, it's possible you can be earning more than members of your own family who work real jobs. So is it the case that when you go back to Poland, you're like balling out of control? You're just like, what's the case?
No. I'm saving my money. I just got my bank account. I just save my money there. I'm not throwing it all away. My father learned me to teach me how to spend money nicely and safely. So of course, it's the case that the salary is quite low. So for now, I'm kind of, let's say, rich person in Poland, and that's really fine for me. I'm not throwing out money. I'm just saving it for whenever I need it. Then I will have enough money to spend.
Would this economic situation, though, maybe affect how you see the future? Like, let's say in 9 months you're not so into StarCraft 2 anymore, or you're not so motivated to practice all the time. Would you keep doing it as a job, or are you someone who'll only play while you're really into it? Where's your head at in that sense? I don't think I'll not like StarCraft in 9 months, but if I would have to do that, I think I would keep on doing that, because it's a huge money. If I would be as good as I am now, or even better, then the second reason why I would keep on doing that, because of the money. So yeah, I would just keep on doing that as a job because of the money. Okay, so let's close it up now. Is there any special message you want to give people who made it all the way through the interview to hear? Is there anyone you want to say hello to, thank you, all these kind of things? I think I want to thank all my fans who are supporting me quite heavily on Twitter or Facebook, and all over the world, actually. I think it's really nice that people care about me as a person, as a player. That means quite a lot for me, that people want to help me improve, that they cheer for me, that they are not like, oh, you lost, you're freaking bad and stop playing and stuff like this. I want to thank Mousesports, of course, for helping me to become that good, because 3 years ago I was like little guy who was searching for a team, and they picked me up. And I've been in Mousesports for 3 years already now, and I want to thank our sponsors, BenQ, Tortec, Razer, and Guile for just being awesome, I would say. And that's pretty much it. Just big thanks for all people in esports for developing it. Dziękuję.
Dziękuję.